The night of November 2nd, 1967, descended upon the plains of Idaho as a cold, starless veil. The air was clear and frosty, smelling of frozen earth and stubble in the harvested fields. The time was around 9:30 p.m. Two young men from the Fort Hall Indian Reservation, Guy Tassi and Will Begay, were driving Will's old pickup truck along Highway 62. The road stretched like a dark ribbon south of the small town of Reary, illuminated only by the dim headlights of their truck. Dark, empty fields stretched out around them. Inside the truck, it was warm. The radio played softly, and the young men, both in their early 20s, were casually discussing their affairs, plans for the weekend, perhaps a recent hunt or farm work. Suddenly, their unhurried conversation was interrupted. Directly in front of their pickup's hood, as if appearing out of nowhere, a blindingly bright, pulsating light flashed. It was so intense that it instantly flooded the truck's cabin, causing both young men to instinctively squeeze their eyes shut and cry out in surprise. A second later, as their eyes adjusted slightly, they saw the source of the light. Directly in front of them, hanging over the road at a height of no more than 1.5 meters, about 5 feet, was a small, distinctly dome-shaped object. It didn't just glow, it shone, casting an eerie greenish glow on the road, the snow on the shoulders, and the truck itself. "What the hell is that?" exhaled Will, who was driving. He would have instinctively slammed on the brakes, but there was no need. The pickup slowed down and stopped on its own, smoothly and silently, as if caught in an invisible force field. The engine died. The radio went silent, leaving only a quiet static crackle. The object, about 2.5 meters, 8 feet, in diameter, hovered directly in front of their windshield, close enough to make out details. Around its perimeter, like a necklace, bright green and orange lights shimmered, pulsating in some complex rhythm. The upper part, the dome, was transparent, like glass or plexiglass. And inside that dome, two figures were visible. Small, motionless, strangely shaped. The intense green glow emanating from the craft itself made it difficult to see them more clearly. Fear, mixed with disbelief and a primal terror, gripped the young men. They sat pressed back into their seats, unable to move or look away from the impossible sight. And then something even stranger and more frightening happened. The object's transparent dome smoothly, like the lid of a box on invisible hinges, tilted back. From the revealed opening emerged a creature. It didn't jump down, didn't descend a ramp. It simply floated out and hovered in the air above the road, bathed in the greenish light. The creature was small, no more than a meter, about 3 feet, tall. Its body was hidden by something like a baggy jumpsuit, and a backpack or some kind of technical pack was visible on its back, protruding noticeably from behind its head. Its face was oval, earth-colored, covered either in pockmarks or deep wrinkles, giving it an ancient, weathered look. Two small round eyes, with no visible pupils, stared straight ahead, unblinking. Huge, pointed ears stuck out from the sides of a completely bald head. A thin slit, lipless, served as a mouth. Everything about its appearance screamed of alienness, of extraterrestrial origin. Hovering above the ground, the creature slowly floated towards the pickup from the driver's side. Guy and Will watched in horror as a thin, gray hand with long fingers, they couldn't tell how many, reached for the door handle. The click of the lock sounded deafeningly loud in the ensuing silence. The door opened. The creature, without touching the ground, slid inside the cabin, directly behind the wheel. Will had to instinctively and frantically move to the middle of the seat, yielding the spot to the uninvited driver. Guy, sitting by the right door, found himself wedged between his friend and the cabin wall. The smell inside the cabin changed. A faint but unpleasant ozometallic tang appeared. As soon as the creature settled behind the wheel, though its feet clearly didn't reach the pedals, the truck started moving again. The engine didn't start, but the pickup smoothly pulled away. It was completely unclear whether the creature itself was controlling it by some unknown means, or if the truck was moving under external influence, telekinetically controlled from the UFO that followed them. The pickup truck veered off the highway onto a harvested wheat field, rolling softly over the stubble. The dome-shaped UFO silently floated a few meters ahead the entire time, lighting their way with its eerie green glow. The truck drove across the field for 100 or 200 meters and stopped smoothly again in the middle of the dark plain. At that moment, Guy Tassi, sitting by the passenger door, felt as if struck by an electric shock. The instinct for self-preservation apparently overcame the paralyzing fear. He violently jerked the door handle, threw it open, and tumbled out. Without looking back, he sprinted across the field towards the distant lights. It was Willard Hammond's farm, visible about 400 meters away. Running over the frozen stubble was difficult. His lungs burned from the frosty air and terror. He felt something shine brightly behind him. A dazzling beam struck him in the back. It was probably the second passenger of the UFO, who had also emerged or was operating some kind of searchlight from the craft. But Guy didn't stop, racing towards the sanctuary of the farm lights. Meanwhile, Begay remained in the truck alone with the terrifying creature behind the wheel. He fell into a state close to catatonic shock. The creature turned its wrinkled head towards him and began to mutter something rapidly. The sounds were completely unlike human speech. A series of high clicks, crackles, and whistles, resembling the sound of a tape recorder on fast forward or, as we'll later try to describe it, like the chirping of some crazy bird. This rapid, incomprehensible, and clearly unfriendly speech threw him into even greater terror. The second creature, which apparently couldn't or wouldn't chase the fleeing Tassi, returned to the pickup and peered into the cabin from Guy's side. Seeing the escapee was gone, it chittered something to the first one. The creature behind the wheel turned, slid out of the truck, and both of them, effortlessly, as if weightless, ascended back to their craft. The dome closed silently. The UFO smoothly rose slightly higher, then shot sharply upward in a strange zigzag trajectory, quickly becoming a bright and disappearing into the night sky. Guy Tassi, gasping for breath, reached the Hammond farm and started pounding on the door. When the astonished farmer Willard Hammond opened it, he saw before him a trembling, deathly pale young man who haltingly, stammering, tried to tell an incredible story about a glowing object, little monsters, and the abduction of the truck. Mrs. Hammond and their children gathered in the entryway, listening with disbelief and anxiety. When Guy had calmed down a bit and could explain more coherently what had happened, Willard Hammond, a practical man not prone to panic, decided to verify his story. Taking his shotgun and a flashlight, he, along with Guy and his oldest son, went across the field to where the pickup was supposed to be. The scene they encountered was eerie. The truck sat in the middle of the field. The engine was idling, the headlights brightly illuminating the stubble ahead. And on the seat, huddled in a ball with his eyes squeezed tightly shut, sat Begay. He was in deep shock, unresponsive to voices, just trembling uncontrollably. Only about 15 minutes had passed since the UFO first appeared before them on the highway, but for the young men, it had been an eternity filled with inhuman terror. Hammond helped Will out of the truck and turned off the engine. He listened to Will's fragmented, fear-filled account, which corroborated Guy's story. Understanding that the young men had experienced something extraordinary and needed help, he took them both back to his house, where Mrs. Hammond gave them hot tea and tried to calm them down. Later that evening, Hammond drove into Reary and stopped by the local grill bar to get some coffee and try to find out if anyone else had seen anything strange. Coincidentally, the county sheriff walked into the bar at the same time. Hammond, a respected member of the community, approached him and told him everything he had learned from the Native American men and seen himself. The sheriff took the story seriously. He knew Hammond to be a level-headed man. The state police were called, and an official investigation began. In the course of interviewing local residents, several curious facts emerged. Many farmers in the area noticed that their livestock, cows, horses, had been extremely restless that evening, animals darting around enclosures, some even breaking through fences and scattering for no apparent reason. Other residents reported seeing strange, fast-moving lights in the sky over the fields around the same time the incident with Tassi and Begay occurred. The case also attracted the attention of NICAP Representative C.A. Ricks from Idaho Falls, who already had experience investigating similar phenomena in the region, including the recent case involving Marilyn Wilding. He thoroughly interviewed Guy Tassi, Begay, the Hammond family, and other potential witnesses. Ricks was struck by the consistency and matching details in the primary eyewitness accounts. Furthermore, during his investigation, he found another man, a local resident, who claimed